Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, and follow us on Apple and Spotify podcasts, and rate us on Spotify and Apple podcasts.
I think you look at the process, and that's what we try to do every year is talk about the process, right? We're not talking about the end result. Our hope and our outcome is to be playing the second Saturday in Joliet every year. That's a championship game. We want to be playing there.
Welcome back to episode 61 here of the Bullpen. Today we're going to be talking through the Joliet Pitcher ID and the Joliet Preseason ID. Just something to note here, we are releasing our Power 25 stories. Our countdown has begun. It started on Monday with the first 5 teams, and then yesterday we released the next 5. And the rest of the week we will be rolling out, 15 through number 1. So keep an eye out for that. We also yesterday released the 2027 rankings. Today on Wednesday, the 28 rankings will be out. So just keep an eye out. A lot of stuff coming out. Wrapped up our preseason all-state content, the quick hits last week. So be sure to go check out the 28 quick hits, the 2029 quick hits, and the upper class 2027 quick hits. If you missed any of that. But yeah, I mean, a lot going on for us. High school season starts next week. But how are you guys doing?
I'm good. I mean, you touched on it. It's a wild time of year for us, trying to get all this stuff kind of off of our plate so we can solely focus on the high school season when it's ready. And we kind of got a little fake spring once again. I see next week, at least up here in the Chicagoland area, doesn't look like the warmest weather to start the week. And I know it'll be kind of opening day on Monday and teams, able to play. So I'm sure teams are chomping at the bit here. They've been doing tryouts and practices outside. But yeah, the whole rankings galore coming out here, Gavin, from a ton of guys we saw this winter, with 29s coming out tomorrow. And then at some point here in the near future, trying to update our 2026 list as well. With some of those guys we saw at the Super 60 Pro Case, there's been there's movement up and down the 27s, 28s, 29s, but there's a lot of seniors that are also, making jumps and getting better and new guys and all that stuff. So, I love this time of year. I love the high school countdown, going through all the teams and trying to figure out who is going to be the best, who do we like, who's got the pitching, who's got the offense, who's returning the most, who made a run last year that's due to kind of not only make that run, but go one step further this year. So just digging through all those players, all those schools, it really gets me ready for the high school season and gets me excited because I know we'll have the Kickoff Classic coming up as well.
Yeah, and quick little college baseball weekend recap. Southern Illinois went 2-1 over the weekend. Eastern Illinois went 2-1 over the weekend as well against Bellarmine. And then NIU won their series against Ohio 2-1. They are now sitting at 9-5. Saturday they had a big win, 13-1, and then Sunday they won 8-2. So a couple teams from Illinois off to good starts the last weekend. And then one thing I just wanted to note, Louisville played Seton Hall on Friday, and they had 3 guys from Illinois pitch in that game. Ethan Eberle started, threw 5 innings, struck out 7, walked 2, allowed 1 run and 6 hits. Tanner Thomas came in out of relief, threw 1 inning, didn't allow a hit, run, didn't strike anyone out or walk anybody. He is from Arcola. Eberle's from Normal Community. And then Anthony Karbowski out of Hampshire threw 1 inning, allowed 1 hit, one hit and no strikeouts. So some Illinois guys in that game. Kind of cool to see.
No, that fires me up. 2 lefties there with Eberle and Karbowski, but then you got Tanner Thomas. He was, before the recruiting rules changed, where you couldn't talk to a school at a certain age, he was a very, very early commit to Louisville. One of the first commits in that class. And out of a small central Illinois town, you love to see it. He was probably one of the best athletes too, Gavin, to come out of the state in his grad class. 6'5", 6'6" runner, huge arm from the outfield, always could pitch, had arm strength, could land the breaking ball. So really cool to see him kind of getting some time there with Louisville, and hopefully he can continue to develop a role here moving forward throughout the season.
And I think, Drew, I skipped over this part, but I mean, last night in the World Baseball Classic, the U.S. lost to Italy, but Springfield native Sam Antonacci was on that team.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody that was watching it saw plenty of Sam Antonacci and kind of everything we've been accustomed to seeing. Like, all the guy does is perform. It was so cool. I mean, not so cool to see that he did it against the USA, but like in one of the biggest stages, I think he hasn't played over Double A, and for him to, be at the WBC, homer in early on, making the play in the ninth at shortstop, where kind of got him on the backhand. Didn't really seem like he had great footing, but still got a lot on the throw. Was an impressive play to me. And then to me, the play that really stood out was that, I don't know if you guys saw it or how locked in you were, but that dirt ball read he had at third base with 2 outs to score the 8th run for Italy. It bounced 5 feet away from the catcher. The anticipation, the gamerness that he showed, and then I've never seen like Sam that fired up on a baseball field before. Like, that was the most emotion I've seen from him. Like, he was ready to compete, and I absolutely love it. And if you're a White Sox fan, you've got to be super excited with what you're seeing out of a guy like that. Like, wasn't the most highly touted prospect, and all he's done is perform, whether it was Arizona Fall League, early on this spring training, WBC, all throughout the minor leagues. I mean, he did this at Coastal Carolina too. He did it at Heartland, all that stuff. So he did it at Springfield Sacred Heart. I mean, played in state. It's, when he was at Sacred Heart, they made it to state. When he was at Heartland, won a national championship. When he was at Coastal Carolina, he was leading the country in runs scored. Like, he's a gamer. So cool to see. And I know we've talked about him a lot, but just awesome to see a guy making the most of his opportunities and just continuing to get better. Every time we see him, the bat speed, the power he's showing, the arm strength, all that stuff, the base running. So yeah, sorry to go kind of off on a tangent there, but really cool just watching that game, rooting for the U.S., watching the comeback, seeing PCA, take a couple hanging pitches with 2 strikes, not trying to do too much. Like, his approach looked way simpler. He was actually tardy on some fastballs, which I absolutely loved because that was telling me he was seeing it deep. And to me, that like allowed him to get to those changeup, the one changeup that they hung early. And then the last one looked like kind of a cutter that didn't cut. But really cool to see PCA and just like, I don't know, cool for Chicago. And those are my takeaways from watching that stuff.
I mean, it was just kind of funny to me. Like, everybody's inner travel ball parent was coming out with like breaking down the pool play and like what needs to happen for USA to advance. So I was kind of in my element with that. But I mean, they're still alive. I think it was like Mexico can win. They just need to score 5 runs or something like that. Yeah, there's a lot of math getting thrown around on X, but we'll see.
Yeah. I don't know about the math and I don't know about the breakdown, but all I know is that Mark DeRosa before the game was talking about how they had already advanced. So that's a little foot in your mouth position there for Coach DeRosa. But
yeah, I mean, he came out and said that he did the math wrong, basically, and he wasn't trying to say that like they were going to beat Italy no matter what. I think he just meant like he thought they were in, which. Yeah, I mean...
It's kind of scary going into that game not knowing it's like a must-win. You know what I mean? Or thinking you have something clinched. Because, like, we didn't play Bregman. We didn't play Bryce Harper. So just who knows, like, what it affected with the situations during the game, too. But I just thought that was interesting. That it wasn't, totally dialed in there before the game. But, yeah. No, I don't think he meant it in a cocky way by any means.
We've got to be rooting for some high scoring today. That's all I saw. I think both teams have to score at least 4 runs or something for USA to make it. But yeah, also they didn't even play Cal Raleigh. So he kind of threw out his B lineup for a must-win game, not knowing it. What a lot of people are calling for the firing of Mark DeRosa for the next World Baseball Classic.
Well, I love to say that like that's our B squad, and there were so many studs in that lineup. Like PCA's hitting in the 9 hole. And I love it. Like, hopefully use that as like some fuel. Like, hey, I should be leading off. I know we have Bobby Witt leading off, who's an absolute stud as well. So, so many good U.S. players, and just it's fun to watch baseball again and meaningful baseball. It was just really cool to see and how into the game those guys were. And like, Man, PCA was fired up when he was in those home runs, and just the fact that they made it a game was really cool to see because they easily could have just laid down.
Yeah, and for those, this is a little off topic, but for anyone surprised to see Nick DiBenedetto on the screen, he's kind of filling in for Tyler today. Nick is in the Fox Valley area for us. He's been on the Wisconsin podcast a lot, so you'll probably start seeing him a little more with the high school season coming up here on the Bullpen. So just wanted to give a heads up for Nick there.
I love that shout out because Nick,
Yeah.
you mentioned he's in the Fox Valley area, which is huge. Like Fox Valley is absolutely loaded with high school teams. So he's a guy that will be out all spring long, whether it's mixing in Wisconsin, mixing in Illinois, being hopefully like that expert on everything Fox Valley. He's a Crystal Lake, native. So we'll be getting him out as much as we can and getting his expertise and his takeaways from the games that he goes and watches on these podcasts. So yeah, Nick, thanks for joining us. And I know that kind of towards the end of the winter season as well, you were sitting in on some arms at some of our events, some defense, and just kind of dabbling here in Illinois.
Well, this isn't Nick's first time. He's on the dark side. He's on Team Lacascio. He was
on
on
the draft,
that.
yeah.
He was in the draft.
The dark side. We'll see. We're still mixing around some ideas of how we can make that game happen to really get it, played out on the field instead of just having to hear you guys kind of chirp me all year long. We're gonna have to actually put this to work here. We got some feedback with guys wanting to play the game, which would be super cool if it ever came to fruition.
Yeah.
But no, I think you guys have some ammo coming off that preseason All-State. Some guys really showed well for your squad, as did ours. We had a couple that weren't in attendance, who I'm sure will show well early on the spring when we get looks at them. But both squad, kind of like Team USA, both squads were pretty freaking loaded. So cool to see.
A couple more college notes back to that quick that I wanted to add. Illinois State's Graham Mastros, a new Trier grad, is hitting .369 on the year with 5 home runs, 17 RBIs, a triple, 5 doubles, and 5 stolen bases. And then Joliet West grad James Love at Eastern Illinois is hitting .336 with 4 homers, 28 RBIs, 3 triples, and 14 doubles on the year. So just some more Illinois prep prospects performing at the college level.
Yeah, maybe you mentioned Enzo and Felice. I might have just missed it there, but he's raking for Pravi, from Pravi for Cincinnati, I should say. All he's ever done is hit, and it's, continuing at the college level. I think he had 2 home runs last night for his first 2 home runs of the season for him and his career. But Jackson Smith, another guy from Providence Catholic, left-handed hitter playing second base, putting up big numbers for Cincinnati as well. And then Cal Sefcik was hurt, I believe, to start the season. He's back in the lineup, and he's making his presence felt as well. I think they got him playing some corner outfield. But he was a Marist grad, former future gamer, former Super 60 guy. You got Wyatt Warrow getting in the lineup at NIU and leading the team in hitting. He's hitting close to 400. And then I saw, I don't have the stats up in front of me, but his strikeout to walk ratio was through the roof as well. His OBP was super high. Aiden Flynn, not sure if you mentioned him, but getting some quality innings at Illinois from Marist. He was, one of the top left-handers in his class coming out of the state. I'm going to throw a random one out at you guys that you may not even know the name. He was a guy that did not frequent many prep baseball events when he was coming through high school, but Tanner Malley, feel free to check it out. Hit up the Google. He's at Western Michigan now. He's a Naperville North grad. And what I saw come across my desk, you can't believe everything you read on the internet, especially social media, but I believe he's leading all of Division I in hitting. It's over 500 with a 6-something OBP, but Tanner Malley now at Western Michigan. Check it out. There's a couple other Illinois products up there at Western Michigan playing. The Maloney boys from Lincoln Way Central. Gav, are you on this? Are you checking this out? What do you got?
547, 4 doubles, a triple, 53 at bats, 18 runs scored, 29 hits, slugging .660. Yeah, he's having a heck of a year. Wow.
Yeah, so sorry, Tanner. I was a little unfamiliar with your game here coming out of high school. But kudos to you, and hopefully you can keep it going up there. We'll be watching from here on out.
Yeah, I mean, in 3 years at Western Michigan, he's hitting 395 career hitter. So pretty impressive stuff.
Just another one of those big time alums coming out of Naperville North. Love to see it. Love to see it.
So the Wednesday before preseason All State, the night Wednesday night before preseason All State. So what was that? A week and a half ago, probably, or I guess 2 weeks actually. 2 weeks ago was the Joliet Pitcher ID. So Pete, I know you and Tyler were at that one. Do you want to talk through some guys at that event?
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, it feels like a year ago, which is the amount of players we've seen, but no, these guys are still fresh in my head. Like, I thought, and I told Drew right after the event, like, top to bottom, it was the first time we've ever ran an event like this where it's just pitcher onlys. Top to bottom, it was one of the better events that I've ever been a part of. Like, literally, like, our internal grading system, there was nobody that was, like, not a college level guy there, from all the ages that I thought that were there. So it was really good to see, especially the first time having an event like that. So I think it's definitely something that we should continue doing. But yeah, I'll start it off with the first arm that I saw on the day was Noah Sloan from Lincoln Way Central. He's a senior committed to Wisconsin Platteville. He had an incredibly loud pen. He was 86 to 90 with 2,500 RPM on it, and showing two different breaking balls too to go along with it. A curveball in the mid 70s and a slider kind of in the same velo range, spinning over 24. And then the changeup showed heavy arm side action with over 20 inches. And it was more of like a reliever, kind of high intent profile, but the stuff was loud, it was dynamic, and it was a great way to start the day for sure.
Hey Pete, he's just a really cool story too. About a guy that's like worked his way to get to where he's at. Like, going through his profile, looking back at like 2024, he was 79.7, topping out at that. His average fastball was 75.9, and then in 25, his average fastball was 82.9, peaking at 84, and now he's touching 90 as a senior. Just really cool to see, and hopefully that just continues to elevate, because it seems like the breaking ball, what you're talking about, like the spin has really improved as well. So that's a good way to kick off that event.
Yeah, no, it was a great way to kick it off, like you said. And yeah, like, he didn't even play high school baseball last year, so that kind of adds like another layer to how cool this is. Like, someone to come out and make a stride like that and be at the level that he is now was like really, really cool to see. I don't know if I've ever seen a story quite like it, to be honest, in a good way. But the next arm I'll talk about here, right-hander Dylan Sikafus, one of my favorite names in the state. St. Charles East, 2027. Huge frame, like 6'3", 185, levers for days, projectable. He was 84 to 86 with kind of a longer arm action, but it was, it was still pretty clean. And there's big carry traits on the fastball. Curveball showed big spin, spinning over 2,600 with 17 inches of sweep on it at times. And then the changeup was a good third offering in the upper 70s. So one of the higher ceiling arms on the day. He'll be a great addition for St. Charles East that I didn't even realize they had. So that makes me like them a little more. And then moving down, Brady Cunningham. I mean, what can you say about that kid besides he's just a stud, right? I mean, I love him with the bat, probably my favorite bat in the state. But he came out and was 91, 92, touching 93, and he's at Brother Rice, 2027, committed to Texas A&M. But yeah, 93 with the fastball, showing two different breaking balls now. I don't know how long he's had the slider, but I kind of always remembered him just having that curveball. So he's added another pitch, and correct me if I'm wrong, but now he's got the 4-pitch mix with the slider as well in there, and it's a little firmer than the curveball with a little more of the horizontal break to it. And then he's showing the changeup at 82, 84 with heavy runs. So just an incredible two-way. He'll be a huge piece for Brother Rice this year on both sides of the ball, and especially, on the mound. Like, he can be a true ace for them. That'll be, a huge asset for them, especially with what he's going to do with the bat. So he could be in the running for, player of the year. I mean, not saying he's going to win it, but I feel like he could be someone kind of, up in that watch list area.
I think that's a perfect call out. Absolutely. The two-way ability that he has, and I do think he'll get tons of innings on the mound. And like, guy's up to 93, and we probably like his bat even more, which is just wild to say, like how good he is as a prospect and a position player. And he's one of the top runners in the class too. And Pete, you were spot on with the fact that he added a slider. Looking back at past years, it did look like it was a 3-pitch mix. So who knows if that's like an added pitch he can go to in game, whether it's a 2-0, throw a slider to get a guy off his fastball or whatever, but just another added, dimension to his overall game.
Yeah, and he's long been a strike thrower that competes in the zone. He had a good showing at the future games as a pitcher. So just really high on him, obviously. And then staying with Brother Rice, I'll go with Aiden Dillon, a left-hander who will look to be another, big piece on the mound for them this year. But he was up to 85 with the fastball, sitting kind of that 83 to 85 range, showing 4 pitches, a tight curveball, tight slider. Curveball is about 70, 71, slider 74, 75, and then a changeup 74 to 78. So, I mean, left-handers, they're always at a premium. 4-pitch mix. He's an athletic mover. It's a good fastball, and he's long been someone that we've liked. So, good to see him making a little jump with the velo, and hoping he can have a good year this spring. But one arm that I had not seen before, Ryan Duffy from Maine West. Now, he's a 2027. Drew, this is someone that you saw the tweet and you immediately thought it was intriguing, just with the frame and the way it works. But 6 foot, 170, really clean mover, clean arm. Like the fastball jumps out of the hand through the zone with some carry and life, up to 85. And spinning a good curveball in the mid-60s and a changeup 72 to 75, but I just was in love with the way it moved and the frame and the upside there.
Yeah, it's one of those, you see it on video, you look at the body, the way it moves, and it's like, okay, this kid's going to just continue to throw harder. He's nowhere near where his ceiling will be. And then the guy you're going to get into next, I think just exciting when we go through these high schools and we do break it down, kind of what I was talking about to start the call, looking at, okay, who's got the best arms, who's got, the top position players. And it is just coming off the preseason All-State, all these winter events that we've run, the amount of just arm talent that will be in the Providence Catholic dugout is wild. Now, not many of them are proven. A lot of them, we'll see what they can do. But as far as, coming and throwing an impressive bullpen and having arm talent, Providence Catholic has some of the top arms in the state. If a lot of them can come out and compete in game, it'll be super interesting. But this is another guy, that we didn't really talk about or know about before this event. So I'll let you get in on him and what you like there. And I mean, it's going to be hard for any arm for Providence to get innings. So, we'll see what happens. But definitely just a name that is one to know.
No, you nailed it. I mean, it's absurd the depth that they have. They're going to trot out 85 to 87 basically every arm. And Jackson Weiss is going to help fill that depth. He's a junior. Yeah, like you said, didn't know who he was. Wasn't familiar with the name, but he was 85 to 87 with carry on it. Curveball, kind of 70, 71 range, and he showed a sinker as well with more of that true sinker shape opposed to the four-seam, but 84 to 86. So 3 different pitches, distinct shapes, and then, the frame, he's 6'2", 165. It's a longer arm action, but there's layback, it's flexible, it's projectable, and the strikes were a little bit scattered in this look, but that's not to say that he doesn't throw strikes in games. So I'm really intrigued by him, excited to see him this spring, and yeah, just another depth piece that they have that makes us like them so much over at Provi. But moving down to a sophomore, surprise, surprise, Lincoln Way East has another young guy coming through that's really good, Camden Johnston, a big right-hander, athletic kid. He was 81 to 84 as only a sophomore, so good velo there for the age, and curveball 68 to 70, changeup 75 to 76. But I just really liked the ease of the operation. It's really simple, it's clean, he repeats it, and there's more to come there. The way the arm works, another one that you can just project on and dream on the kid. Really good kid too. Not to say that the other ones aren't good kids, but we just had a good little conversation that I was a big fan of Camden. And my final kid, I want to mention another one that I thought was an awesome kid that I had a great conversation with, is Johnny Tragos from Timothy Christian, 2027. He was a clean mover, and he was on Defabaw's mound, and I know Defabaugh was a fan of him for sure. It's a low 80s fastball with some carry, curveball 68, 69 with feel for it, and a changeup. And he also showed a cutter as well, actually, at 74 to 75. But just an athletic, that was kind of the theme of the day, just these athletic right-handers that, repeated and threw strikes. So Johnny Tragos, Timothy Christian, uncommitted junior to know.
First year running that event, towards the end of the spring, giving these arms a chance to get ramped up, doing it on a weekday evening, was so impressed with the turnout, the amount of guys that came, the quality of the players, and we ran it at Joliet Junior College, and I just want to, big shout out there to Coach Greg Braun for letting us get into that indoor facility. Really, really nice facility they got over there. So yeah, definitely a plethora of follows coming out of that event. When we set it up, we weren't totally sure what we would get from it, and I feel like Pete, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but kind of blew away our expectations. And just a really, really cool way to get these arms a chance to just, hey, this whole event is focused on you guys. Come in, do your thing. We don't have, any other position guys going on. We had some catchers that, we had just come in to just solely catch the bullpens. And I thought it was a huge win for hopefully the players and definitely us, and definitely something I would like to do more in the future. Especially if we're going to get all these 2027 follows and a Brady Cunningham up to 93. So really good stuff there.
Yeah, I don't know if it was just the dynamic of the event that brought out all these awesome arms, but no, it's definitely something we should do, and great call. Shout out to Greg Braun. The facility, I've never been inside of it, that athletic building they have, it was legit. Their basketball court was sick. The turf area, it was like a Division I, turf area. It was super impressive. Great recruiting tool. I'm sure they're happy that they have. So, no, shout out to them.
And if you're a school out there that has a setup like that wants to maybe host a pitcher ID in the future, let us know. We would love to kind of get all throughout the state of Illinois, Chicagoland area, wherever, and see arms. So thought it worked out really well.
All right, so the Joliet Preseason ID, first off, just keep an eye out for those takeaways from that event. We have a ton of names we've been working through the past few days for that Joliet Preseason ID takeaway, so we'll have a lot more to come from that. But the first thing that I'm going to get into, Nick and I were on arms, and our first topic here is going to be upside arm. And I'm going to go with left-handed pitcher Landon Ludwig, a 2028 out of Ridgeview. He's 6'4", 180 pounds, super long levers. It's wiry, pretty high-waisted, but kind of like I've talked about the past couple weeks with guys like this, he controlled his levers really well. For that size and his age, it was pretty impressive. Really quick arm, and the fastball came out really good. It was 83 to 87. He touched 88. And curveball was low 70s. Changeup was low 70s, but the changeup had a ton of fade. It averaged negative 17.1 inches of horizontal movement. And then he also threw a pretty good cutter, too, at 77 to 78. Short horizontal action. It actually kind of had that true cutter action to it. And the reason I've got him here in this upside arm section is just because, he is up to 88, but I think there's just still a ton more to come with the frame. He's got a lot of room to physically develop and get stronger and just polish up that whole arsenal. So Landon Ludwig, shout out to you. I thought it was a really interesting pen. A 2028 out of Ridgeview there to keep an eye on. But Nick, if you want to kind of get into your guy, we can just go back and forth because I know we have a couple names.
And even before that, Landon Ludwig, we had seen him in the low 80s at some tournaments in the past. Showed a huge jump in velo. And going through the rankings here, Gavin, he put himself firmly on the map as a high follow left-handed arm, one of the top lefties in the class. With maybe one of the higher velo ceilings in the class too from the left side. He immediately emerged as a must-follow future games watch. We got to see it. We got to see what it looks like in game, how he can, control himself on the mound. How does he throw with a guy in the box? what do the secondary offerings look like in game. But I was a huge fan of the video, the upside, everything you said, like nailed it. Like he is now firmly one to watch in the state. And, going through the rankings, like there's way more right-handed arms than there are left-handed arms. So if you're a talented lefty, you immediately climb up high on our board, and just become a high follow for all these colleges out here as well.
Yeah, well, speaking of lefties, and I know we had talked about it earlier with Providence Catholic having all these arms, but they have a freshman coming in, a left-handed pitcher, Jake Swan. He really impressed me with his bullpen. He measured 6'2", 200 pounds. He's got strength throughout the frame. His delivery was really athletic. He was repeating it a lot, and it was really clean for the age. That was one thing that kind of stood out for me, was how clean it was for a freshman. He worked out of like a lower three-quarter slot. He had a higher knee lift, and the fastball came out really clean. That's set 79 to 81, topping out at 82. Played with a lot of sink. Averaged 15 inches of IVB. And then he showed two off-speed offerings with his curveball at 65 to 67 with sweeping action. He had average of 14 inches of horizontal movement. He had the ability to land it for strikes. His second one, he's still kind of developing feel, but I mean, like I said, he's a freshman. He's got some time to work on that. His slider was 70 to 71 and had tight spin for sure. And this was his highest spinning breaking ball, which was 1995 average, and I think it was up to nearly 2100. So it really stood out for how clean it was and how free he was on the mound. I mean, for a freshman, you don't really see clean deliveries a lot, and I was really impressed with that for Jake Swan out of Providence Catholic.
Love that, getting a shout out here on Jake. Like, he's also 6'2", 200 pounds as a freshman. And if you're controlling your levers and you're, clean like you're saying as a freshman, like that speaks a lot to the athleticism. He was also up to 87 in the outfield. So like, tells me kind of, okay, there's some raw arm strength there to where it's probably going to come on the mound. I also have a little inside info on Mr. Swan. Like, he's a big time hockey player as well. So love that. Love hockey, football, wrestling guys, like hard-nosed guys. I think there's a lot there to like about Jake, and plenty of upside for his future. And shocker, yet another, highly interesting arm coming out of Providence Catholic.
Yeah, so my next upside arm is right-handed pitcher Adric Ant, an uncommitted 2027 out of Burlington Central. He's a right-handed pitcher, 6'6", 195 pound frame. It looks like there's still more to come in the frame. Stretch only guy. It's kind of raw, but I thought the arm worked really well. Pretty quick out front, and the fastball came out pretty good. It was 85 to 87 with like a natural arm side run to it. The curveball was 74 to 75 miles an hour with kind of a shorter action, but according to TrackMan, he threw it for strikes 75% of the time. And then his changeup was 77 to 79. And again, he threw it for strikes 100% of the time, according to TrackMan, which I know Drew's kind of touched on it the past couple weeks on our episodes, how hard it is to actually throw strikes through or on TrackMan just because the zone is so tight.
Tight zone, yep.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. Like I just think he's an uncommitted name that has a lot more room to grow. So I was impressed with Adric there.
Yeah, definitely. And might have been missing an R on the last name. I think it's Arndt.
Sorry. Gotcha.
No, you're good. I'm going to hook up Adric here because he was a guy we talked about for the rankings. We were able to slide him into the rankings. I think it's a super interesting, like you talk about those levers and 6'6" with some raw arm strength, and it is a clean moving arm to where I could envision that thing continuing to elevate as well. So definitely a guy to keep an eye on, one to see. And just a good quality arm there, hopefully, for Burlington Central this spring.
Next arm we'll talk about was right-handed pitcher Evan Monaco out of Plainfield North. Another younger arm. Kid's a beast on the mounds. 5'11", 203, with strength throughout the body. He had a quick tempo in his delivery. Had a very compact arm action out of a true three-quarter slot. He was up to 86, and he was holding velo throughout the bullpen, sitting 84 to 86. Played with some arm side run and sink. It had 18.2 inches of average IVB, which was really impressive. Showed two off speeds, the slider at 76 to 77 with some tight spin, with an average of 2065 RPMs, and then his changeup I was really impressed with the changeup. 79 to 80. He had feel for it, could throw it for strikes, killed spin with 1698 average spin. And then it had both a lot of horizontal and vertical movement with an average of 16 inches of IVB and then 11 inches of horizontal movement. And I think he's got more in the tank. I mean, with that frame, and he's only a sophomore, he's just going to continue to grow with velo. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he's up to 90 by next year or something like that. But I was really impressed with his bullpen.
Yeah, so my favorite arm from the day, it is honestly, he's coming from a high school that I really like. We just ranked them at number 16. They consistently, for a small school, 1A, 2A size school, they are always having pretty good arms, the past few years especially. But this arm here is right-handed pitcher Griffin Doberstein out of Ottawa Marquette, a 2027 who's still uncommitted. It is simple. It is controlled. He repeats. It's a starter profile to me on the mound. He reminds me of the senior at that school, Alec Novotny, who's committed to Valparaiso. Very similar frame, movement patterns. The velo at this age for Doberstein, a year behind Novotny, it's about the same. Novotny was maybe a few miles an hour ahead of Doberstein, but his fastball is 85 to 86 here at this event. He threw a curveball at 73 to 75, the average, 2305 RPM, and it has good shape on it. It's kind of 11.5. He has feel for it. And then he throws his changeup at 80 to 82. He throws it hard with that fastball arm speed. And then last season for Marquette, he went 8-1 on the mound, struck out 67 in 50 innings pitched, and had a 1.12 ERA. But just quickly on Marquette, they have a guy like Doberstein, they have a guy like Novotny, and then Easton DiBernardi too is another name that we really like. We just saw him up to 90. They have a ton of arms. They have, and I'm not mentioning all of them, but really impressed with that Marquette team. Really impressed with Doberstein, and again, he's an uncommitted 2027 to get on.
Yeah, just dropping stats on us. I love this. I was just going to mention, one thing I love to see at Joliet was, you mentioned Ottawa Marquette. They had 7 guys there, come get in front of us. Absolutely love to see it. It also plays a huge factor when we're looking at these teams. Let's be honest. If we don't know, who's on a certain high school and we're really unsure, it does make it hard to fully like a team or know what they have. But man, when Ottawa Marquette, we saw them make the run at state last year. They're up to 2A this year, which is another dynamic that should be really, really interesting. But they're getting their guys to our events, and they've got a ton of depth over there for a smaller school out there. Just a lot of follows, and really excited to see what they can do once again this year. I feel like you can book it every year for those guys, winning 30-plus games, pretty much ever since I started doing this. Great program, and awesome getting all the looks we got on their guys.
Yeah, and then just a two-way that I wanted to touch on the mound, and you guys feel free to talk about his bat as well, is right-handed pitcher Colin Sims, an uncommitted 2027 out of St. Ignatius. It's a stronger frame, but it's athletic at 6'3", 207 pounds. And on the mound, I really just love the mover. It's really loose, and he repeated, and it's a lower arm slot. And I thought the fastball was really impressive. It was 83 to 84 miles an hour, had some arm side run to it. I do think the off speed has a little bit of development still to come, just the polish of it, the consistency with strikes, but he did flash quality pitches at times. The curveball was 71 to 72. It showed depth and kind of a sweeper type feel to it at times. The changeup had a lot of fade. Just needs to kind of consistently get the polish to it, throwing more strikes. 74 to 75, average 0.4 inches of IVB and 14.4 inches of horizontal movement. He also threw a cutter, a lot of cutters at this event actually. But he threw a cutter at 78 to 79, and it did kind of have that slight cutting action to it. So really liked him on the mound. It's super loose, like the way that the arm works. I think there's more to come, and just as he continues to polish up his arsenal.
And you mentioned him as a position guy as well. I like the right-handed bat. He's physical. It's long levered, but he's got some strength, and it was a pretty simple swing and plus loud contact consistently coming off the barrel. Used the middle of the field. He peaked at 100 as far as exit velocity off the bat, and definitely probably showed just as much intrigue as a right-handed hitter as he did a right-handed pitcher. So St. Ignatius has some guys also that we saw this winter. They're going to be an interesting team to see what they can do this spring.
Yeah, and then just one more arm to mention, and I could have put him in the upside arm section. I really could have put him anywhere. I was pretty impressed by him, but right-handed pitcher Keegan Schwarting, a 2027 out of Joliet West. He is uncommitted. He stands in a 6'5", 182-pound frame. It's not as wiry as some of these other guys. It's pretty lean, but there is still room to add that strength. It's athletic. But the fastball is up to 86. He threw like a slider and a curveball, but the slider was really impressive to me. It was very it was sweeping action and at like 73 to 74. I think it has swing and miss type potential. Average 25, 29 RPM on that pitch. And then also threw a changeup at 78 to 80 that averaged 15.9 inches of horizontal movement. So I like the way that he moved. I like the arm action. Another really interesting arm from this event. So an uncommitted 2027 out of Joliet West.
No, Schwarting was another guy, kind of like Adric Arndt, that jumped his way into the rankings, and I think there's plenty of intrigue. And like, what I love about these guys is, yes, it is very important presently how good you are, of course, especially the older you get. But like both of those guys, I feel like are very far away from their ceiling. And that's what we're always looking for. We're always kind of evaluating the floor and the ceiling. Okay, it's great to have a high floor, but what is that ceiling? And I really like both those guys' ceilings.
Yeah, if you guys want, just go. I know you got a lot of defensive standouts, Hammett. Drew, I know you got a lot of standouts on at the plate. So
let's roll. Let's keep moving into this. This Joliet event. I mean, Pete, even before you get in there, like, there's an absolutely massive event. It's the final event we run in the preseason, right before the high school tryouts. Run at the Rhino Baseball Academy, and just a phenomenal turnout of players. The enormity, the amount, the quality. It was really deep. Probably not going to talk on nearly as many guys as we probably should, but that's what the quick hits are for, the takeaways, and that's what, the event analysis we'll get into. But definitely some guys worth a mention. And Pete, like one guy here that I know you had just simple defensive note on, but unsigned senior that showed up at our event, Daniel Chop, Oak Forest. Defensively, peaked at 81 from the crouch, had consistent sub-2 pop times. So, like, if you're looking for a defensive catcher out there, you're at college. What I like is not only was he sub 2.0, but at times at these events, you'll get guys that are maybe they'll flash a 197, and then their high number will be a 217. So the variance between those two numbers is extremely big. And I don't know if I'm using the proper term there, variance, but the difference between the high and low number is very big. To me, it's all about being consistent and your low number being, very close to your high number. And Daniel Chop, I see here, was not 194 to 196. So that tells me he's consistently on the bag, repeating. There's not a lot of mishandles from, in the exchange, and his arms around the bag as well. So, offensively, it was a clean and athletic, simple swing with a flat path, and he used the middle of the field. And Pete, if there's anything else you want to mention on him, feel free, or anybody else that maybe stood out to you. And I kind of jumped down my list there, so sorry to
you're good.
Throw you off if I did. But
no, you're good. No, yeah, unsigned senior to know, impressed on both sides of the ball. But one of the more impressive and versatile kids on the day was Diego Gutierrez from Mateo Valley. He impressed on the infield. It was soft hands, it was fluid, played with leverage, just an easy, natural mover, and then he was good behind the plate, too. Got down to a 194 for the pop, and he was up to 79 miles an hour from the shoot. So really impressive showing in both spots defensively, and then I like the swing as well. I mean, it was easy, it was flat, I didn't think there was a whole lot of intent behind it, and he was creating some loud results with a 97 mile an hour exit velocity. So one that stood out. And then two Manuka infielders that I came away really liking from the day are Kyle Rodak and Joey Retz. Both are 2027s. Rodak, it was just a soft two-hand funnel. It looked natural. The body flowed with ease, looked good out there. And then Rutz, he was arguably my favorite infielder of the day. I just thought it was like clear, natural field out there. Like the dude was owning it. It was soft hands. It was fluid. He had like that timing. Like he knew, when to go after the baseball, when to sit back. Played through the ball well with athletic feet, and moved really well laterally as well. So two winners that I think will play, potentially roles for Manuka this year as juniors, and a team that's always good over there. And then moving down, Javoris Bohannon from Rich Township.
And you're gonna get into Javoris Bohannon. Rodak was a guy I had on my list to talk about as a bat, so I might as well jump in here. 6'2", 181 pounds. So he's got that long levered, high waisted frame. Also ran a 7.24. He peaked off the bat at 98, 83 across the infield, and it was a loose, easy, and I had projectable swing. We'll get into this a little bit later when I talk about the bats, but how you get to your exit velocity, says a lot. And he had easy jump off the barrel. So I think there's a lot more to come there. And he was another guy that was using the big parts of the field. So sorry there, go ahead, get into Bohannon. He's another guy I'll mention, with the bat as well.
No, you're good. Feel free to hop in on Javoris. But Rich Township, 2026, Triton commit. Another one that I just liked on the infield. He's athletic, soft hands. He was confident in the glove, working through the baseball, played low to the ground, just clean all around. But it looked like he had a good round as well.
Yeah, he keeps getting better, and that's what I love to see. First off, the frame, really athletic, chiseled, kind of the way you draw it up. But he ran a 6'9", 160. 99 peak exit velocity. I think he was a little ticked. He didn't get to the 100 mark. He was really, really close as far as when you go to the 10th as well. So Bohannon, I know that'll be in your future. Keep working. And then, he's just on the barrel throughout his round with a pretty clean swing and definitely worth a mention kind of all around. So Triton commit there, like you said, and one that we just kind of continue to get looks at as he moves through high school and continues to get better.
Yeah, one more defensive standout was Adam Vogt from Marmion, 2027. He led the event in pop time, got down to a 183, and showed a huge arm. He was up to 82 miles an hour from the crouch. Now, I wanted to shout him out, as well as Gustav Crane from Highland Park, a 2027, and then Devin Patel from Fremd, a 2027. Three guys that stayed and volunteered to help catch pop times. Now, there was a ton of catchers there, 30-ish. I don't even know the number, but there was a ton of them. They all had to do their defense. It was the end of the day, a long day. They'd been there for hours, and they willingly volunteered to stay. They could have left and caught pop times at second base. So huge shout out to them. Just spoke, really, shows the kind of kid they are, willing to do that, and just came away big fans of those guys.
That's awesome to hear. I love that you had their names too, and we're able to shout them out, because that is something that, there's little things you can do at an event to stand out. That shows your character, good and bad. Even just the way you go when it's your turn to go take defense. Are you moping to your position, or are you on a hop? Do you pick up the cage? When it's time to pick, are you running out there and picking, or are you the guy that kind of hides over by their bag? All that little stuff, we try to pick up on. And then two, guys that do stay and catch pop times, especially if you're an infielder, we're watching the way that you pick baseballs and the way that you receive the throw and tag and all that stuff, handle a bad throw. That's stuff that we can't really see in just a round of simple infield defense. So we're looking for anything and everything that we can to kind of get a feel or, an evaluation tool on a player. I love that shout out. Well, I'll keep going here. I had a list of bats. I know, Pete, you were able to watch some hitters as well, so I would love for you to mix in with some guys so it's not just me rambling. I'm sure people, not only you guys, but everybody out there gets a little sick of me, rambling on.
Let's go guy for guy. Let's go. We'll trade off.
Sounds good. A little Data Darling section I had here, but I also he was kind of upwards in the top echelon of the hitters that I saw in the day. Was outfield Quinn Champion, and he was a tough one for me because he's at Lyons Township. He's a 2028, and he kind of got got iced, I guess. What you do to a kicker. He was ready to hit, and then we couldn't have him go hit because some tech stuff. So he had to sit there and wait and be patient. And then when he finally did get his chance to hit, I thought he kind of put on a show. It was a really repeatable swing. He was on the barrel and it was loud, like with a lifted hard contact to the pull side. Um, and then when you talk about his data, like he ran a 6'9", 160. He was 85 from the outfield. He peaked at 96 off the bat. And then another thing that caught my eye was he had the second best visual edge score when it comes to eye tracking and all that stuff, which is another tool that we use to help us evaluate players. So Quinn Champion, huge shout out to you. Kind of being a patient, hitter there, and then still being able to do your thing. So that was one guy I wanted to kind of mention off the top, Pete. And then I made mention of this earlier when I was talking about Colin Sims or maybe Rodak or somebody, when it's how do you get to your exit velocity? Like, I think one of the biggest takeaways I've had from the whole winter preseason ID events, all the invite only events that we ran, where exit velocity numbers are higher than they've ever been. Like, I think it's pretty obvious when you look at pitching velos and you look at exit velocities, these guys are training for this stuff. And we had over 100 hitters probably at Joliet. But just looking at the numbers, 16 guys peaked, at 99 or better with their peak exit velocity. 26 guys were at 98 or better, which is just, it's really absurd numbers when you think about it for an open event. Guys from all grade levels, like we got freshmen in the mix, you got sophomores, juniors, we got a couple seniors, but like those are just gaudy, like ridiculous numbers. And I think for me, that was one event where I was able to sit and watch every hitter. There's a lot of events throughout the winter where we are doing multiple things. I'm, maybe watching a couple guys hit here, watching a couple mounds here, watching some defense here, kind of floating around. But it has made like evaluating hitters just, I don't know if it's harder, but it almost was like, I don't even want to know the exit velocity because every guy now, hits a ball hard. And really getting to key in on the swings. So today I want to talk about some like the swings and the upside guys that I really liked. Like there's a ton of guys to mention that had big exit velocities and all this stuff, but like how you get to your exit velocity and your approach offensively is what I'm watching. And like, hey, great, if you have a big peak exit velocity along with, a fluid, rhythmic, balanced, on the barrel swing with minimal effort, like, and you then have a high peak exit velocity, that's what's really going to stand out. But I want to see like the balance. I want to see the rhythm. Like I want to see the path. I want to see repeatability. Like I want to see easy bat speed. I want to see guys using the middle of the field. I want to see guys knowing who they are as a hitter. Like, if you are big and physical, okay, like you should try to launch some balls. But if you're not that guy, like why are you over swinging to, take some huge swing and pull every ball into the left side of the net, to get a 97 mile an hour exit velocity. So that's a little bit of my rant there, Pete. And I guess on this same topic, like one guy that was peaking, every ball hit was loud and big exit velocities, but I thought he was staying balanced and really repeatable throughout was infielder Eric Casper at St. Lawrence, a 2028. Like every ball he hit was 93 plus. He had the second best average exit velocity of the event at 95.5. But it really was like the on the barrel every time, pretty simple. And he's just really strong, compact, shorter levers, and he can control the barrel. So that was a round that stood out to me as far as like, okay, like this guy seems to be a hitter and he's got the exit velocity along with it. So, I know everybody gets caught up. A lot of, some of it is like our doing. Like we tweet out a lot of guys that put up big measurables. Like they do stand out when you have a peak batted ball of 111 miles an hour, 108 like we had at some, all state events. But let's not forget about like being a hitter first. And then, hey, if you have power attached to that, great. So yeah, just lead it off with that. Eric Casper, St. Lawrence, 2028, definitely stood out to me. And he was one of the earlier hitters on the day too.
Yeah, no, that's a good rant. Like I think that is so true. Like a lot of the times, my favorite hitters from the day, like the TrackMan does not wow me with them, and it's more of a projection thing. So I think that's a good way to kind of go about evaluating. Is don't just look at the TrackMan, but Josiah Sykes is kind of one of those guys. Like, didn't blow me away with the TrackMan numbers, and he shouldn't right now. He's only a freshman. But he's one that we've seen in game. Like, I saw him a lot on the tournament circuit this past summer. It's an athletic right-handed swing. It's twitchy. There's line drive intent in there, and he's kind of just that high motor gamer. So familiar with him in game, and it was good to get him in event.
And I'm just going to rattle off some guys here. Some I may have more to touch on than others, but when I talk about projection and some guys that I really like the future on, I think outfielder Beckham Francis from Oswego, he's a 2028. He kind of stood out to me. 6'2", 171, kind of long levered frame. And it all kind of starts there, right? Like the style of hitter you are, how long your swing is, all like a lot of your movement patterns, it's all kind of based off of, starts with your frame. The kind of from there we start building our evaluation, and like he is a guy right now that I think can get away with a little bit longer. He's long levered. It's going to be a little bit longer swing. I thought he did a really good job of like staying on plane. Also had like some leverage off the bat. Peaked at 96 off the bat, and I just think like it's one that I would love to mold him. Like there's a really good clay and a foundation. And I think just as he continues to become grow into his body, control his levers, like that hit tool should only continue to tick up. And he's going to add strength on that frame as well. So I hope that was, understandable the way I put it, but he was one that just kind of like, I've got my antennas up on like, I really want to follow the future there on Beckham Francis.
Yeah, going down the list here, a couple of physical bats that stood out to me. Sean Amsden from Marist to 2029, brother of Colin Amsden, who's now at Lewis. It was just really strong with easy strength. Like that's what you just mentioned. Like how do you get to your power? And he did not have a whole lot of intent behind it in a good way. Like he was not trying to turn and burn and just let it rip the entire time with the helmet flying off. And he was still pretty loud. It was 93 miles an hour for the EV. And then Gavin Souter from Downers Grove South, the junior, 2027, just a physical left-handed hitting catcher. Actually liked him defensively as well, but it was intent to lift. There's power. He's going to be, profiling towards the middle of their order, I would think. And down to 201 for the pop time with 76 mile an hour arm from the chute. So good little left-handed hitting catcher over there at South at the alma mater.
I was going to say, I'm fired up. You got to shout out the Downers Grove South guy there for you. Sticking on high school themes, like HF, Homewood Flossmoor is a school we've seen a bunch of guys from this winter. And it did factor into when we were breaking down some schools in Power 25 and looking through rosters. Like we saw a lot of HF guys this winter, and a lot of them were really, really intriguing. I think they're going to be, they were below 500 last year, and we'll see what happens, but they've got like some really, really interesting arms, led by an ace of the staff, but then I feel like they have a ton of depth. And two guys that stood out to me were outfielder Michael McLeod, he's a 2028, and then infield outfielder Bryce Gilmore, he's a 2027. They were two of my favorite hitters. Who knows, McLeod may, need some time here before he's on that varsity roster, but Bryce Gilmore would be a guy that I would think will certainly compete for some time, especially as he continues to trim down his 60 time. Like right now, that's one thing that I think if he needs to work on moving forward is like continuing to develop that foot speed. But I thought the bat was probably my favorite of the day. It was highly, highly repeatable, on balance, and just consistently on the barrel with a clean swing that stayed on plane. It was like every ball he hit was 93 plus, staying within himself, working to both gaps, and just a very, very polished, impressive round of BP. So he's one that I'm going to be very curious if he can kind of crack that lineup, what he does, if he can add anything to HF this spring. And they're just, the Vikings over there are an interesting team that kind of, I'm excited to see what they do. So
yeah, they've had a whole lot of guys that stood out this winter, so exciting for them. And I saw they had a commit last night. I don't have it off the top of my head, so I'm not going to butcher it, but they had another arm commit somewhere. So
saw that as well. And
yeah,
we kind of talked about that. Like, not only are they intriguing with some, guys that are going to have to step up this year, but they also have a ton of college commits. And that's something that you look for too, is like we've talked about it in the past. Those schools that have a lot of seniors with seniors that are committed to play at the college level, you got to watch out for them.
For sure. I'll keep going down my list here. Jules Hoecker from St. Francis, 2027. Just kind of that loose, like fluid swing with the loose wrist. That's one thing we look for when evaluating. And it was middle of the field, pull side intent, showing some lift up the middle, trying to work on top of the baseball also. And in the low 90s for the EV. So just a swing that I liked. And then Gavin Lustig from Oswego, a 2027. Just a well-rounded prospect, a good runner, ran a 6.91, and then the swing was really compact and repeatable, with a lot, like barely any wasted movement in that swing as well, and he was up to 98 for the EV. So a simple, strong swing and a good athlete there.
I've got infielder, right-handed pitcher Alex Siska listed next on my list. Plainfield Central, 2027. Just another guy that should continue to elevate as far as his prospect status as he continues to trim down his 60 time, because I really like the bat. Another guy like that stands out to me because it was highly repeatable. It was on the barrel consistently. Like the bat stays on plane. He used the whole field, and he also had some strength behind it. And he's not the biggest guy, so like he understands how to leverage the baseball without swinging out of his shoes. He peaked at 99. Off the bat, he was 83 across the infield. Also showed some intrigue on the mound. So Alex Siska there, kind of a name I'm curious to see what he does this spring for Plainfield Central. And then somebody that kind of does fit the mold of, hey, if you've got some bat strength and some power, like go ahead and show it off. Ian Bell, a freshman at Pleasant Plains. He's built like a grown man, really physical, and was hammering baseballs. Like it was one of the louder rounds of the day, and made it even more impressive the fact that he was a freshman. So he's another guy just took a kind of stood out in his round of BP, and it was a peak exit velocity at 98 miles an hour there for Ian Bell.
I'll finish my last three guys here, and then Drew, I see you got like two more left.
Yep.
Travis Skoll from Joliet West, a junior. Just another, strong, loud round of BP, strong hands with some natural lift up the middle of the field. End of the big parts of the field as well. Flashing line drives, 95 mile an hour EV there. So just a solid all around round. And then Ryan Paul, Naperville Central, a junior. He had some big numbers, EV wise, up to 101, but it was natural lift. There was some aggression in the swing, controlled intent, but natural lift to the big parts of the field, one of the louder rounds. And then Sebastian Urbanowski from Loyola, 2027, another piece that looks like Loyola has over there. They're looking pretty interesting, but there was definite bat speed in that swing. On the barrel throughout the round with some lift and line drive, kind of middle pull side feel, and then 99 mile an hour EV, while also showing well defensively with a 2 flat pop time and a 78 mile an hour arm from the chute.
I'm hoping Loyola proves us wrong, that we should have ranked them, because they were a team we were looking at. They've got a lot of pieces that are super interesting, and a lot of guys we saw this winter here before the spring season. I'll get in on two guys that kind of fit the mold of, hey, like the tools aren't super loud right now, but their best days are yet to come. Infielder Liam Precht at Wheaton Warrenville South. He's a 2027. I just thought he had a really solid all-around day. Strikes me as a baseball player. And so does like Sebastian Urbanowski. Sorry to like jump back on him, but he was a guy that I actually caught some of his defense, and it was really clean coming out of the crouch. The arm carried, and it was like consistently around the bag, like just really looked like a catcher during pop times. You get a lot of guys that are kind of, shooting for the quickest pop time ever, and they're going too quick for their body, and nothing's in sync. Like he was really in sync, clean coming out of the chute, and liked Urbanowski as a baseball player as well. And Liam Precht kind of fits me, or caught my eye in the same way. Ran a 7 flat 60. There's more to come offensively. Kind of controls the barrel. Sprayed it around the yard, and he's listed at 6 foot 141. So like there is so much more strength to come there. Really looks young still too. So excited to see what his ceiling ends up being. And then Tyson Arbor from Bradley Bourbonnais, a 2028 left-handed hitting outfielder. First off, like thoughts and prayers out there to like those Bradley Bourbonnais and Kankakee area people. We're recording this on the same day this is getting released, and there were some bad storms that made their way through the Chicagoland, Central Illinois area yesterday, and I know a big tornado rolled through the Kankakee area. So hopefully everybody's doing okay out there. But Tyson Arbor, outfielder, left-handed hitter, spray approach, tries to stay inside the baseball. Seems like a top-of-the-order type of guy, and the swing fits that profile. Try to stay on top of the ball. Like, I just really like the look. 90-mile-an-hour exit velocity, 86 from the outfield, and just one who I think his best days are yet to come.
All right, that'll wrap up our Joliet talk. And so now we can get into our interview with Nazareth head baseball coach, Coach Milano. We also have one more interview that'll be out next week with Libertyville head coach and reigning 4A state champ, Matt Thompson. But let's get into the interview with Coach Milano.
We are joined here with Coach Lee Milano at the IHSBCA convention. Coach, thank you again for having us. It's always a blast. You always take great care of us. So we'll talk some ball. Obviously, you guys have had a ton of success over the last few years here. Looking at 2026 now, this coming spring, what are some big pieces that you lose that you'll be looking to replace?
Sure. First, before I start, I just want to say thanks to all three of you guys. I said it in my beginning presentation to the IHSBCA, like no one covers our guys, travel in high school like you three guys do. So everybody's in it for the best for the athlete, and you guys promote our guys. And I'm not just talking about NAS guys, I'm talking about all the players in the state. So thank you so much for doing that. Getting into NAS, I don't know how you replace a kid who just signed a $3 million signing bonus. But I do know how, because I have another kid that is a really high-profile athlete. And both of those guys, obviously we're going to miss Jaden, a 4-year starter. His high school record was like 130-something and like 20. So it's hard to replace that. But, he's quality individual. And we're really fortunate enough to coach him. We lost some pitching, but that's kind of our mantra is we're playing the best 9 guys out there, and that's just my philosophy over the years. So those best 9 might not be seniors; they might be freshmen or sophomores. We had 3 freshmen up last year that are sophomores that really have to contribute now. We might have a freshman or 2. We have a good freshman class that might be up to get their feet wet. When Lyman told me was a freshman, I told Jim and Andrea he's going to contribute because I knew the kid was really good, but he's also around Cooper Malamazium, he's around Lucas Smith, he's around David Cox, he's around Jaden Fowski and John Hughes, and he's around all these guys that are D1 guys, and he's going to get better every day. And so my philosophy is that we have those young guys up and get them into the program, so we're not so-called rebuilding every year. These guys they're getting a taste of it already.
Coach, I want to ask about your catching situation coming into 2026. Obviously, you lose Chuck Roche, who was like I felt like a stabilizing leader back there the last 2 years anytime I came out to see you guys. So who are you looking to kind of step up in his place this year?
Yeah, I think Chuck's a great story. So, in this day and age, I hear a lot of kids about and parents asking when they're 8th graders, who do you have coming in? And they're kind of worried about that stuff, right? So if Chuck worried about coming to NAS because Jaden Fowski was coming, who was already committed to Louisville before he walked into NAS, Chuck never would have came to NAS. So when you talk about quality and people worrying about so many things in the future, Chuck started behind the plate for 3 years. Jaden was a preseason All-American going into his senior year as a catcher, right? So, and obviously there are reasons why Jaden was in the outfield, but I just wanted to make that point, that I hope parents understand that, just go out and compete. right? Don't worry about other people. Go out and compete. Don't worry about, where you're ranked and who's looking at you and all. Just go compete. That's the best thing you can do. Our catching situation is up for grabs, and I think I love the competition part of it. It's hard to replace. We've had so many good catchers, and I was thinking about this, over the last 15 years. We had good catchers. Justin Gonzalez wouldn't play at Buffalo. He was on our 2011 team. I mean, we had so many good catchers. Timmy Del Porto played in pro ball, like good catchers throughout. Andrew McKenna and on and on. But Charlie Moore and John Bukovic, a junior and a senior, they're probably going to compete for that position back there, and we'll see. Maybe there's someone else, too, that we really don't know about to go back there and compete. So I love that part. There aren't many things, like there are no guarantees. I know one thing, Landon told me he's going to be playing shortstop, I can tell you that. But there aren't many guarantees. That guys got to go out there and compete to play.
Yeah, that's really good stuff. You mentioned, putting the best 9 out there. That's not always going to be seniors. In fact, your first state title was a lot of underclassmen, and that core, grew together. So looking kind of in the same lens right now, are there any young prospects or newcomers, maybe not necessarily going to start for you guys, but they might have a role, or you're excited about them just moving forward?
Yeah, so that team that you mentioned in the first state title, that's a class of 2024, when they were freshmen, 6 of them started on our varsity team. Cooper Malmason was 14 years old playing in the sectional final, right? And then you fast forward that next year we win the state title, then we go 37-0 their senior year. So, yes, there are guys that we're going to look at to contribute on the varsity level. Like Gavin Hardigan, Jimmy O'Connor, and Christian Dry were all freshmen on varsity last year, and all contributed in their own right, and all grew in their own right, but now they have to take that step up, right? And then the freshman class that are now sophomores, we had those 3 kids on varsity, and we had 13 on our JV team. Our JV team was 25-5. So the cover's not bare, right? There are some guys, and we'll see from that sophomore group, that 2028 group, who's going to step up and who might get moved up. And then there are some really good freshmen. I think you saw one of them at your future game in TJ Delaney. There's a couple other kids in that group that are really good. And the thing I love about the freshmen, when you come in, you could be a kid who has not hit puberty yet, and you're really tiny, but you have actions. Yep. And there are some kids that are really big and never pan out, right? So that's why you have to give. I really don't like cutting freshmen, because we have to give them a chance to catch up with their bodies. You guys see Landon told me as a freshman, the swing was there, right? Obviously the genes are there, and I just kept saying wait till that kid's strength catch up with that swing. That's going to be scary, right? And we saw it a lot more last year. There are a lot of young guys in the program that I'm really excited about.
Coach, what heading into 2026, what gets you the most excited about this year's team? Is it as simple as Landon told me, but what else are you looking forward to with this upcoming season?
Well, I think you look at the process, and that's what we try to do every year, is talk about the process, right? We're not talking about the end result. Our hope and our outcome is to be playing the second Saturday in Joliet every year. That's a championship game. We want to be playing there. But we're not looking at that. We're talking day by day, and we're going to try to get better and putting the pieces together. You don't know what's going to happen during the season, right? You don't know about injuries and who's going to step up and all those things. So the process is really important. I get excited every year because every year is different, right? The makeup of the team is different every year. In 2024, I was so excited, about that group. It was more emotional for me than anything, because that was the greatest group we've ever had. It's very unique to have 6 kids as freshmen playing on varsity. So, every year to me is a challenge. I'm excited about every year, and every year is different.
Coach, I got one final question for you. Are there any big matchups that you are excited about this coming year that we should know about?
So we never worry about who we're playing, right? We always worry about what we can control. We can't control who we're playing. I tell our guys, it's from our dugout to the other foul line. That's all we're in control of. Anything that happens behind us or on the other side of that foul line, we don't control. Obviously, we're really fortunate to go to Florida this year. We're going to go to the Phillies complex. And Jim and Andrew told me we were able to set that up. And we're playing IMG there. I know the kids are all hyped up about that. But at the end of the day, like, every game should be important. Every game matters. And don't worry about your opponent. When you start worrying about your opponent, you really put yourself in a bad situation. You mentally are getting distracted.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Coach, I cannot thank you enough. Thank you for hopping on. Thank you for having us, and just thank you for everything you do.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for everything you do. You guys are the best.
All right, that'll wrap up episode 61 here of The Bullpen. As always, appreciate you guys listening. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, and follow us on Apple and Spotify podcasts, and rate us on Spotify and Apple podcasts.
Follow, subscribe, rate us, whatever you guys can do. Appreciate it. And keep a lookout here for the Power 25 rolling out. Trying to get everything out here before the opening day of the high school season, or at least one of the first couple days next week. And we got some big high school coverage on the way to follow that up. So really excited for the spring. And thanks to everybody out there for an awesome winter season, and really excited to see what's to come.